All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start off by giving all praises and glory and honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Marakah Kwadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of Well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect, the Bayath Dawadah, the house of David. All right, so let's go right into it. Okay, we got this article here. All right, this is Science Tech Daily, right? And it says, making mind reading possible. Invention allows amputees to control a robotic arm with their mind, right? So let's go down here. A University of Minnesota research team has made mind reading possible through the use of electronics and AI. Researchers at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, have created a system that enables amputees to operate a robotic arm using their brain impulses rather than their muscles. This new technology is more precise and less intrusive than previous methods. The majority of the commercial prosthetic limbs now on the market are controlled by the shoulders and chest using a wire and harness system. More sophisticated models employ sensors to detect small muscle movements in the patient's natural limb above the prosthetic. It says both options, however, can be difficult for amputees to learn how to use and are sometimes unhelpful. All right. It says a new implantable nerve device. It says the Department of Biomedical Engineering at University of Minnesota, with the help of industrial collaborators, have developed a tiny implantable device that connects to the peripheral nerve in the arm of a person. The technology, when coupled with a robotic arm and an artificial intelligence computer, can detect and decipher brain impulses, enabling upper limb amputees to move the arm only with their thoughts. The researchers' most recent paper was published in the Journal of Neuroengineering and peer-reviewed scientific journal for the interdisciplinary field on neuroengineering. So we got this little video here.
Initially, going into being an amputee, I thought technology was more advanced than it is. And so when I heard about a nerve-driven system to operate robotics, I wanted in.
The research we're doing at the University of Minnesota is focused on the development of a miniaturized device. With that device, we would be able to sense signals within the nervous system. And in this specific setting, by analyzing the signals within the patient's nerves, we would be able to understand what he wants to do.
We are well along the way toward allowing upper limb amputees at least, and other people in the future, to have totally natural and intuitive control of their prosthetic devices.
They have sensors, teeny tiny sensors, that they place into and around certain nerves in my arm. And so they run into wires up my arm and then out of my bicep so that they can be accessed. So basically I can plug into a computer.
We are effectively reading his mind. When he has the thought that I want to move my index finger or I want to grasp this water bottle, all he has to do is think.
From my understanding, people have had this idea that this couldn't be done, right? The team of people here have been in different places over the years, but over the last 10 years, they basically came together and said, we can.
There will be a large amount of diseases which previously cannot be treated will be treated, and we're working very hard to push the boundary of this science and technology, and to help as many patients as we possibly can.
All right, so there you have it. It says the University of Minnesota's lead team's technology allows research participant Cameron Slavins to move a robotic arm using only his thoughts, right? I got a scripture for you. Let's go here. Revelation 13, and let's jump down here. right? Let's jump down here to verse number 14. It says, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles, right? Left-hand miracles. Because see, these devils are trying to play Yahweh on the left-hand side. They're trying to play God. You see? Trying to heal people, right? And do these different miracles on the left-hand side, which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the sword, which had the wound by a sword and did live, right? And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, right? So this chip that he's throwing into his arm, right? Because it's a chip. Now, it's not the RFID microchip, but it is a chip that can control thought patterns and everything. So you might as well say, right, in a sense of it. You see? So let's read this here. It says, unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, right? And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark, right? The word charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now, this is not the mark to where you're going to be able to buy and sell. So I'm explaining it to you that it's not the mark where you're going to be able to buy and sell, but it controls his thought processing, right? Of him being able to move his limbs, of being an amputee. So I'm just reading this scripture out. But the point of it is that the point I wanted was right up here in verse number 14. You see? But let's continue finishing up this here scripture. Right, verse number 17, it says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that haveth understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now we know that's the MOTB, the RFID microchip, which is the radio frequency identification, right? And then you got the NFC, which is a near field communication. Okay, but now I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna warn you now. You take that chip, Yahweh Shem Yahshai going to destroy you. But let's go back here. Let's go into another scripture, right? Before we go back and finish off the article. All right, let's go into Job, the 12th chapter, right? In the 16th verse. You see? It says, and with him is strength and wisdom. The deceived and the deceiver are his. You see that? The deceived and the deceiver are his, because he's making it seem like he's a God, right? That he can do all these different miracles, right? That all these things can come and be done by him alone. You see? All right? But now let's go back into this article. All right, where we at with it? Right here. It says it's a lot more incentive than any commercial, right? It says intrusive than any commercial. It says systems out there. It says in Jules Tian Nayan, a postdoctoral researcher in University of Minnesota Twin Cities biomedical engineering PhD graduate with other commercial prosthetic systems. When amputees want to move a finger, they don't actually think about moving a finger. They're trying to activate the muscles in their arms, since that's what the system reads. It says, because of that, the systems require a lot of learning and practice. For our technology, because we interpret the nerve signal directly, it knows the patient's intention. If they want to move a finger, all they have to do is think about moving that finger, right? Development of the neural chip technology. It says Nayan has been working on this research for about 10 years with the University of Minnesota Department of Biomedical Engineering. It says associated with Professor Yaha Yang, and was one of the key developers of the neural chip technology. You see, it says when combined with the artificial intelligence computer and above the robotic arm, the University of Minnesota researchers neural chip can read and interpret brain signals, allowing upper limb amputees to control the arm using only their thoughts, right? You see, it says the project began in 2012 with Edward Kiefer and the industrial neuroscientist and CEO Nerves Incorporated approached Yang about creating a nerve implant that could benefit amputees. The pair received funding from the U.S. government's Defense Advanced Research Projects agency, well, you know, DARPA, right? Okay, it says and have since conducted several successful clinical trials with real amputees. The researchers also worked with the University of Minnesota Technology's commercialization office to form a startup called Fiscal, a play on the word fiscal, which refers to the bundle of nerve fibers to commercialize the technology. The fact that we can impact real people and one day improve the lives of human patients is really important. It says, Nayin said, it says it's fun to get develop new technologies, but if you're just doing experiments in a lab, it doesn't directly impact anyone. That's why we want to be at the University of Minnesota involving ourselves in the clinical trials. For the past 3 or 4 years, I've had a privilege of working with several human patients. I can get really emotional when I can help them move their finger or help them do something that they didn't think was possible before. Role of artificial intelligence. A big part of what makes this system work so well compared to similar technologies is the incorporation of artificial intelligence, right? AI. You see? And that's what they want to run their world by. See, artificial intelligence, a technocratical, totalitarian a government, man. All right? You see? So it says, which use machine learning to help interpret the signals from the nerve. Artificial intelligence has a tremendous capability to help explain a lot of relationships, Yang said. The technology allows to record human data, nerve data accurately. With that kind of nerve data, the AI can fill in the gaps and determine what's going on. That's a really big thing. To be able to combine new chip technology with AI, it can help answer a lot of questions and we couldn't answer before. Now, let me go into a scripture. Right? So let's go into 2 Thessalonians. You see? 2 Thessalonians. Right? 2nd chapter. And let's start up at the first verse. Matter of fact, let's start right here at the 4th verse. It says, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. You see that? Right? Left-hand miracles. Okay? Now let me jump down. Let me jump down to verse number 9. Right? It says, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, right? With all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause Yahweh shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. You see that? All right. So let me go back into the article. It says, where we at? It says the technology has benefits not only for amputees, but for other patients as well as who suffer from the neurological disorders and chronic pain. Yang says in future, where invasive brain surgeries will no longer be needed and brain signals can be accessed through the peripheral nerve instead. Plus, the implantable chip has applications that go beyond medicine. Right now, the system requires wires that can come through the skin to connect to the exterior AI interface and robotic arm. But if the chip can connect remotely to any computer, it would give humans the ability to control the personal devices, a car, a phone, for an example, right? And what is that? What you call I forgot what it was. It control everything. Pretty much the Internet of Things. Say that. For an example, with their mind, it says some of these things are accurate. Some of these things are actually happen, and a lot of research is moving from what's in the so-called fantasy category into a scientific category. Yang said the technology was designed for amputees for sure, but if we talk about its true potential, this could be applicable to all of us, right? It says, in addition to Nyan Yang and Kiefer, other contributors on the project include Associate Professor Catherine Q. Zaho and researcher Ming Jing from the University of Minnesota Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Professor Jonathan Chang from the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center. All groups are members of Yang Neuroelectronics Lab in the University of Minnesota's Department of Biomedical Engineering. All right, so that's the end of the article. So now, let's go into here. Let's get up out of there. Let's go into Revelation 12 and 9. Right? Revelation 12 and verse number 9. It says, and that great dragon was cast out, the old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Okay? Revelation, let me get Revelation 18 and 23. Revelation 18 and 23. Right? It says, in the light of the candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all the nations deceived. You see that? But by thy sorceries, left-hand sorceries, miracles, witchcraft, you see, all these things going on in the midst, man. Because all of it ain't nothing but through a chip, AI technology, it's all witchcraft. It's all left-hand miracles. You see? All right? So let me get Revelation 19. Revelation 19 and verse number 20. It says, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which had deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. Those both were cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. See that? ICBM intercontinental ballistic missiles, and the chariot shooting down more fire on this place as well. You see? But ultimately, the ultimate end game is them ICBM intercontinental ballistic missiles that's going to destroy Babylon the Great. All right? Now, let me get my last scripture in Revelation, the 20th chapter, right? The 20th chapter, and let's go to the 3rd verse. And it says, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up. They're going in the chains, right? And set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season, right? And that's during the Renaissance. You see? They came back into power during the Renaissance, right? And he rose up. Okay, talking about Esau, Edom. All right, so let's go down here to verse number 10. It says, and that devil that that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet, right? Because this man is a false prophet, right? Are and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. So with that, I'm going to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Marakah Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone of Ruel. Peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect, the Bayat Dawadah, the house of David. Shalom, Kwam Yashala, Abba Babal, Shalom.